You're wearing sweatpants. It's Monday.
So?
So that's against the rules, and you can't sit with us.
Whatever.
You can't sit with us!
When the cast of Archies was being launched in India, there was extensive and intense media training that the cast was going through. This was in order to protect them from the wrath of the new landscape of media that is ruthless when it comes to dissecting statements of actors, especially if they come from film families. If you notice the promotional campaign of Archies, the appearance of the actors, especially the products of nepotism, was heavily curated and controlled. This was almost a soft landing approach so that the audience gets a glimpse of them rather than a sense of annoyance creeping in with the saturation of their appearances. As Heeramandi was one of the most marketed projects from Netflix this year, Sharmin, an actor only a film old, found herself to be in the midst of actors who have way more acting experience than her. This in turn naturally makes you believe that there would be a sense of knowing one's place and not interjecting on especially professional topics when an actor who has more experience is expressing themselves.
Insecurity mein maza hai. There's nothing.
No, insecurity is horrible.
I love insecurity.
No.
The marketing run of Heeramandi, especially the interactions that showcase the cast talking to the media, is nothing short of an absolute mess, especially when you look at the several moments where Sharmin categorically aims to put down one of her co-stars.
He's just a perfectionist, I think, and he just wants everything to look not mediocre, but because whatever he does is nothing less than excellence.
Perfectionist is a very basic word to use to describe Sanjay Leela Bhansali. It's what an outsider who has never worked with him and never been on his set and never seen the kind of director that he is would use that kind of word.
The lack of media training is alarming when Sharmin is making the most jarring expressions in order to convey her annoyance when someone else is simply expressing themselves. I don't know where this confidence comes from, but it reeks of a certain amount of privilege when one is so brazenly disagreeing on aspects of the craft with professionals who have had decades of experience versus the actor who has just started her career. It becomes even more alarming when those who have watched Heeramandi can attest that we did not even see an iota of what Sharmin preaches about the craft in her performance as Alamzeb in Heeramandi. At one point of time, it does seem like the cast is just tolerating one another, reflecting on the shared call scene from Mean Girls where everyone has their hidden agendas but in public, everyone acts like each other's best friend. This made me think about Janhvi and Rajkumar's discussion with Karan Johar for Mr. and Mrs. Mahi. While the discussion annoyingly repeated the same topics of nepotism, privilege and the non-existence of camps, reflecting on the out-of-touch assessment most insiders have on simply what it takes for outsiders to make it, I found Janhvi in the discussion extremely self-aware and acknowledging the talent she was sharing the couch and screen with, and how grateful she is for these opportunities, and especially shedding light on the fact that only her work can prove her place in the industry. This is in contrast to the lack of self-awareness with Sharmin and the cast of Heeramandi, making my jaw drop in several instances of the interviews where maybe, just maybe, she felt the constant need to prove herself as she was surrounded by such experienced actors. The feeling of incompetence often leads to projection of energy, all a means to prove oneself, not realizing you're trying too hard and often come across as insensitive and straight up rude. This made me think about several instances where interviews with celebrities simply get too uncomfortable, either due to the line of questioning, the topic at hand, or statements by actors that just seem tone deaf or simply preposterous. You know what a big fan I am of Hrithik Roshan. I consider him to be one of my biggest inspirations, or why I started dancing, or why I fell in love with the performance arts. But whenever someone asks me what is Hrithik's worst performance in his entire career, I tell people it's when he decided to sit in front of Arnab Goswami for an interview. Never have I seen Hrithik be so uncomfortable, so media trained, with rehearsed key responses than in this interaction.
There's no relationship.
We had a good time.
Sorry to be keeping on asking you this question again.
I have never met this person one-on-one in my entire life.
You have never met her one-on-one?
In my entire life.
Well, then this is crazy.
The interview conducted with the purpose of simply denying any association with Kangana Ranaut is tough to sit through. I remember seeing it for the first time and thinking anything but sitting with Arnab would have sufficed. A controlled press conference, a public statement with receipts, anything but a 2-hour sit down where you pretend to be strangers with your two-time co-actor.
That you're writing these emails faking it to yourself, or
Or she
she's
is.
writing the emails faking it to us?
One of us definitely
So one of you
needs-
certainly needs
help.
Needs help.
It could be me.
Are you being funny?
I should not.
Speculations and assessments can be created about what may have transpired between the two actors, but this 1 hour and 52-minute interaction is painful to say the least. I would rather watch Main Prem Ki Deewani Hu again. Tying back into what we first started talking about, and that is a lack of self-awareness regarding Sharmin's statements with the Heeramandi cast, I can't help but create parallels with so many of Sonam Kapoor's interviews. This was the time when the actor genuinely felt that she was causing waves as a star, while everyone remembers the infamous interaction with Rajkumar Rao, where Sonam is trying to convince the actor that she has had similar struggles to make it in the industry. I swear Rajkumar puts forth his best performance in the interaction.
No, I just feel bad when somebody is so bad, and I still have to see him or her in 25 films just because he's somebody's son or daughter.
I don't think the industry is that forgiving though, unless the father has like tons of money and they're constantly producing films on the person.
Achha.
But nothing beats her statement on Coffee with Karan. When talking about good actors, she really had a tone-deaf statement.
But does that bother you when they talk about other actresses more in the acting department?
Well, you know the thing about the industry is if you're not good looking, they think you're a good actor.
Yeah.
Also, when talking about the impact that she had globally, it seemed like when influencers create badass edits with music and post it on their own profile.
Where people, and being considered an icon in my 20s.
Right.
When people like in their 40s or after they die are considered icons, I think it's amazing.
You know, recently just seeing Shah Rukh Khan celebrate the KKR win just made my heart happy. I don't know what it is about seeing him celebrate that makes me root for more of the same in the future. It's probably reflective of the terrible few years he had before the pandemic, where everyone wrote him off, and how his comeback has led to probably his most financially successful reign in his entire career. Just to see him embrace his family, Gautam Gambhir and the team was so wholesome. But I will also never forget seeing Abraham in the visuals on how SRK was hounded during the process of surrogacy just over a decade ago during the promotions of Chennai Express. Media reports were disgusting, theorizing the legitimacy of the process and putting into question the identity of the mother.
I would request everyone, including the concerned authorities, to show the same alacrity in finding out and doing the enthusiastic investigation they are doing upon my baby. Upon other things.
It formulated a terrible environment and horrible line of questioning for what was essentially a happy moment for the family. I found it so uncomfortable when SRK had to address the same on something that is so sacred and private.
When the sad part of it gets over, of course I'll share everything with you. So God bless you. This is the last question. This one is, get on the train, baby. My baby will talk some other time.
I don't think Karan Johar would have ever expected to have his foot in his mouth on his own talk show. Revisiting the time Kangana and Saif Ali Khan shared the couch together talking about Rangoon, one couldn't help but feel the animosity and the lingering anger that was simply brewing, waiting to be expressed.
You know, you'll play that stereotypical Bollywood biggie who is like, very snooty and completely intolerant to outsiders and,
intolerant to the
flag bearer of nepotism, the movie mafia.
When Kangana delivered these lines, it almost became a media war of sorts, with both factions throwing shade at one another, but also exposing the restrictive nature of the industry, which was otherwise never really questioned.
करण जौहर की मैंने एक फिल्म की हुई है उंगली में, उन्होंने मेरे को कोई 10 मिनट, वो मेरी लाइफ की सबसे बड़ी फ्लॉप फिल्म है, मुझे चाहिए ही नहीं उनसे काम.
You cannot be this victim at every given point of time who has a sad story to tell about how you've been terrorized by the bad world of the industry. Leave it.
The word nepotism eventually got more weight, a reality of not only the Hindi film industry but several other industries in the country. Kangana had momentarily become the voice of clarity and expressed what so many went through. However, this battle was short-lived, as one noticed the actor over a period of time picking battles with anyone and everyone and burning creative bridges that made her extremely isolated. All a result of drinking the Kool-Aid and going to places beyond reprieve. I will never forget the day Uri released and the marketing interviews that Vicky Kaushal and Yami Gautam were giving and how they had to constantly justify the stance the film was taking. Vicky was constantly asked about the thin line between jingoism and patriotism and his particular speech to his troops, whether his role would have a negative impact on a polarized society, but Vicky clearly stuck by his film, the role and what the film's intention was.
घर में जाके मारेंगे and you know all of that is
Not
going on.
people. See, you have to see it in a different lens. वो चौराहे पे खड़े होकर नॉर्मल लोगों को नहीं बोल रहा कि खून का बदला खून से लेंगे. He is talking and charging up a troop who are just ready to get onto the choppers and risk their lives to go across border and do their mission and come back.
The questions that were reflective of a political bias and slight annoyance of a film doing well was met with clarity by the cast that was simply reveling in the success of their film with a smile on their face.
The intelligence officer is slightly underwritten. Are you taking it with a pinch of salt or are you thinking about it? I'm all sugar with my with my sentiment.
You know, I spoke about Sharmin and how dismissive she was of Sangeeta Sheikh, sitting right next to her, an actor who has worked in the industry for so many years, and this is the outsider experience that many people don't talk about or have never experienced. You know, I remember speaking about the interactions of Siddharth Malhotra and Kartik Aaryan with Raji Masand back in the day, where the journalists ruthlessly questioned the creative choices of both the actors, almost badgering them about their foolish choices.
Speaking about brothers and films that don't work or didn't work, I suppose we have to bring up Bar Bar Dekho and how awful that film was.
Ever make you uncomfortable that for the third time you're making a film which would be viewed as sort of anti-woman or woman bashing?
Siddharth, with a smile on his face, took it on his chin. Kartik was, however, consistently called an actor who does misogynist films, but brilliantly replied regarding his choices like Akash Vani that no one saw. It's this experience of being belittled that is often not spoken about. Something which most journalists would not dare to make a product from a film family feel because they already come equipped with teams that control such a rude line of questioning. Rajiv's perspective on the nepotism Siddharth Ananya situation makes me feel he does not have a holistic perspective of the sheer struggle one has to go through, especially now that he's working within the industry.
And Siddhant clapped back at her and that became a thing and
That became the biggest thing.
And you know, I really genuinely felt that was unfair because you can't attack people for their opinions.
Right.
It's their you may not agree with it, but I felt that was completely unfair and now we work with Ananya and she's lovely.
If you think what Siddhant said was an attack on an opinion and not what every outsider goes through, then there's something wrong. See an outsider like Sunny Leon and the disgusting line of questioning she had to experience with Bhupendra Chaubey, who put all the responsibilities of the morality of India on Sunny Leon and how her mere existence is a threat to India.
There are some who believe that if Sunny Leon is becoming this brand ambassador of sorts of this new India, then it's a very dangerous trend to have. That if Sunny Leon is the most Googled...
You're the first person and only person ever to say that.
I'm telling you. No, I'm
one of the few times when the industry has united and stood for an actor who was clearly disrespected.
तूने कहा नहीं, लेकिन आमिर खान तो नहीं करेंगे आपके साथ काम. तूने कहा नहीं करेंगे शायद. तो मुझे बड़ा बुरा लगा रजत जी ये सुन के कि एक आदमी किसी को इंसल्ट कर रहा है और वो तो मैंने फौरन ट्वीट किया कि नहीं मैं बिल्कुल काम करूंगा आपसे, आप क्यों उसकी बातों में आ रही हैं.
I think we live in an odd time where we miss the spontaneity of the interviews that existed a few years back and detest the rigidness and lack of character that exists in the current lot of interviews. I don't know whether we are equipped for the same cattiness and spunk that existed close to a decade ago or more, because we have evolved into being far too critical of each thing that is said today, but still somewhat misstatements that caused headlines back in the day. It's a weird dichotomy of sorts. And that was a video, guys. Write down in the comments below whether you have some video ideas for our channel. Please don't forget to follow me on Instagram. The handle's right in front of you. Follow me at JammyPants4. Also, please support us by smashing the like button and subscribing to our channel for weekly content ahead. Thank you for watching.